part of our local government elections coverage, we take you to Cape Town now, where we understand that the Democratic Alliance has laid charges against a Good Party member, Brett Herron. Now, for more on the story, as well as details of those charges, we cross live now to our reporter, Athi Mtongana. Athi, as we touch base with you this afternoon, what seems to be the situation, the impasse between the DA and the Good Party?
A very good afternoon to you, Tammy. Well, as you know, the Democratic Alliance in the city of Cape Town municipality, they have received backlash from members of the public about the amendment on that street bylaw. So yesterday we had an opportunity then to engage the Democratic Alliance on this particular issue. They had the opportunity to explain what the amendment means, and as far as, you know, the people who are homeless and people who are living on the streets. However, we have the Good Party's Brett Herron, who has been vehemently against this amendment. Brett, thank you so much for your time. We understand that charges have been laid against you. Talk to us about all of that and actually how it came about. We know that you are against that amendment, and a lot of other people who have criticized the municipality.
So yes, I mean, I believe a complaint has been lodged with the IEC. I think it's an absurd complaint because the statements that I've issued are factual and correct. I've been opposed to this bylaw and the proposed amendment to it for a long time. The city has largely, and the city and the DA have largely focused on criminalizing homelessness and legitimizing some of the conduct of law enforcement in how they approach homelessness. So legitimizing the confiscation of possessions, the removal of people's possessions, the issuing of notices that you must leave an area and never come back, which is absurd. I mean, they talk about public places, and no one can be ordered to leave a public place and never come back. I mean, we're not living in colonial or apartheid era anymore, where people can be forcefully removed from an area, and we don't have separate amenities. So that part of the bylaw is wrong, unconstitutional and inhumane, and I've been opposed to it. But the bylaw itself, the full bylaw, includes the noise nuisance component. And so it's not only about homeless people, this bylaw, it also deals with noise complaints. And in 2019, there was the mosque in District 6, where there was a complaint from a resident that the call to prayer, the adhan, was a noise nuisance. And the city acted on that complaint. And then when there was an outcry, the DA leadership promised, when they amended the bylaw, that they would exempt churches and mosques from the noise nuisance complaint. But they failed to do so. And the explanation for failing to do so is simply implausible. So they have left the call to prayer and the ringing of church bells as a potential noise nuisance.
And so many have said that, you know, the Democratic Alliance is anti-poor in amending this particular bylaw. And now we obviously will have religious organizations also coming up to raise questions around whether they can actually continue with some of their religious activities pertaining to that issue, which is, like you put it, the noise.
Yes, I mean, the way the city operates is complaints driven. So if you live in a neighborhood and suddenly you find the call to prayer is a disturbance to you, or you move into a neighborhood and you discover there's a mosque nearby and the call to prayer disturbs you, the current situation, the fact that the DA City of Cape Town did not amend the bylaw as they promised to do to exempt mosques and churches from being subject to the noise nuisance complaint, means that someone can lodge a complaint and the call to prayer or the ringing of church bells can be shut down, as happened in District 6, and as happened in Paarl, in the neighboring municipality, where the Kerk, the oldest church in South Africa, is not permitted to ring its church bells because the church bells were considered a noise nuisance.
So what are you going to do now that they've laid this complaint against you? I mean, it's election season, you're out, you're campaigning, they're also campaigning, and they've lodged this complaint with the IEC. What is the good next step?
Look, I mean, the IEC will investigate and they will make a finding on the facts. And the facts are, if you go to the City of Cape Town's website right now and look up how to lodge a noise nuisance, you will see the call to prayer is listed there as an example of what is a noise nuisance. So the DA have made this IEC complaint. It's not based on fact. The call to prayer and church bells are still regarded as a noise nuisance because the City of Cape Town and its council, which is DA-led, failed to amend the bylaw when they promised to do so. So I'm not worried about the IEC doing an investigation. They will conclude that what I'm saying is factual, and that the DA, I think, have lodged this complaint to try and give themselves some sort of political cover for failing the communities of Cape Town and creating division amongst the communities of Cape Town by exhibiting religious and cultural intolerance.
Right, great. Thank you so much for your time. Well, a lot of political contestation out here in the Western Cape and certainly in the city of Cape Town's metro. And I can tell you what, Tammy, that in the past couple of weeks we have not seen a situation on the streets where we don't see the DA and a good party supporters coming close to each other as they crisscross the communities in their campaign trails in the Cape Metro.